The Thursday night lights are shining bright just off Broadway in Music City, USA. It's Nissan Stadium in Nashville, set to host the first meeting since 2018 between the Tennessee Titans and your Dallas Cowboys. Welcome in to Week 17's edition of Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort from the Star in Frisco. Alongside former Cowboys Barry Church, we've got Nate Newton. No Isaiah Stanback today. We're usually four deep in terms of the on-air host here, but that's okay. We've got Haley Sutton in studio. We've got Nick Eatman live out in Nashville. We'll hear from both of them very shortly. Isaiah supporting his alma mater down in San Antonio. It's the Washington Huskies taking on the Texas Longhorns in the Alamo Bowl. So we wish Isaiah luck, but he's playing hooky today, so it's okay. We'll be all right. The Cowboys and the Titans meeting, like I said, for the first time since 2018. The Cowboys have plenty on the line still. Not so much for Tennessee. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture. These are the teams that are in right now, and as you can see, the entire NFC East is in at the moment. The Eagles still as the top seed despite their loss to the Cowboys last week. Dallas could either end up as the 1 seed, the 2 seed, or the 5 seed. Those are the only 3 options for the Cowboys, even if they lose their final 2 games. So good thing for the Cowboys. You can't go up, you can't go down. But what do you want to see out of this Dallas team over the final 2 weeks?
I would love to see just more consistency, whether it's on the offensive side of the football, defensive side of the football. I need them to get back to that consistency that we saw earlier in the season, whether it's offensively leaning on their strength, which is the ground game with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott out there, or it's with the defense, getting back to that swagger, that defensive line, getting after quarterbacks, throwing waves upon waves of pass rushers on there. I just need consistency from both sides of the football, and I think good things will happen for this team.
I need to see the same thing, basically. I need to see our offense continue to do what Dak did last week. They had the one boo-boo early, but he recovered, and the offense just started to flow. CeeDee Lamb is starting to grow. Our tight ends has always been a big part of it. Our running backs continue to stay healthy and continue to hammer that run. And our defense, I tell you what, if you're not going to stop that run game, we're going to have to do it with turnovers. You started that last week. Continue with the great turnovers. Make sure you fill those lanes and get these young guys going.
The Cowboys need to win this game. They need to win next week against Washington. They also need Philadelphia to lose coming up this weekend and, of course, next week as well in order to win the division. The Tennessee Titans, in terms of their Week 17 matchup, this game mathematically does not matter for Tennessee's playoff hopes. They have to win next week against Jacksonville either way. So, of course, Mike Vrabel, as the head coach of the Titans, taking an opportunity in a game that mathematically does not matter to rest some of his key guys. And one of the biggest names right there at the top of the list, Derrick Henry. He leads the NFL in rushing since 2016. Ezekiel Elliott is second on that list, and somehow the Dallas Cowboys run defense avoids the most physical back in the entire NFL. How does that change things, Barry?
It changes it massively, all right, because if we look at what, Derrick Henry brings to the table, this is one of the biggest running backs in the National Football League. Strong speed, he has it all. He has a deadly stiff arm. He's one of the hardest running backs to bring down in all of football. So they definitely dodged a bullet with that one, and we'll see what this Tennessee Titans offense can bring with one of their best players being rested.
I tell you what, man. Thank you. When he's bigger than any of our linebackers, he's the same size as Anthony Barr. He's 6'4", 260 pounds. He's their screen game. He's their short passing game. He's their short yardage run game. He's Mr. Long. He can go 60 or 70 yards. Thank you. We do not have to face this guy. He's probably the #1 player in my opinion in the league.
Ooh. Barry, you got a chance to face Derrick Henry.
Don't remind me.
You don't want to go back
don't
to that.
Don't remind me about that one.
I mean, how tough is it to bring down? Is it just shoot at the knees and pray? Are those really the 2 ways to do it?
I'm telling you, when you're going against a guy like that, you have got to check his shoe size. That's the only way you're going to bring this guy down. I mean, he has a deadly stiff arm, and unfortunately, I was victim to one of those stiff arms back in the day. I mean, he's extremely hard to bring down. He's one of those guys that you got to gang tackle. I mean, we say it all the time about running backs, but he's really, truly one of those people that you got to gang tackle. If you don't bring him down that way, he has an opportunity to wreck your defense. So good thing we don't have to go against that guy this afternoon.
I watched some film of him last week against the team down the road, and his first series, they gave him a short running play. He stiff-armed the guy. They gave him the next play was a screen play. Then they threw to him again, swinging out of the backfield. And the 4th time they gave it to him, he went like 60 yards. I mean, he went I'm serious. I am a run guy. First and foremost. And when I can get a guy like Henry on my team that never have to come out of the game first and third down, yeah, that's special.
This is the first game that he's missed all season long, and in his 15 games played, 8 of those have gone for 100 yards or more, including last week against the Houston Texans when he had 123. So his statistics off the chart. Sorry to all those fantasy football owners out there that are playing in their championship games this week, because I know that one hurts a little bit. It hurt me a little bit too. But let's talk about the rest of the guys. Outside of Derrick Henry, Titans taking an opportunity to rest a quarterback, 2 running backs, 4 offensive linemen, 6 of the guys in their front 7, and 2 defensive backs. Who outside of Derrick Henry is somebody to keep an eye on, or is it just them collectively?
I would have to go with Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay.
I mean, him being out of the game is another blessing for the Dallas Cowboys, because this guy, when you talk about defensive interior linemen, there's Aaron Donald that's at the top, and then right below him is Jeffrey Simmons. His ability to affect the game is unbelievable. He can affect the pass, he can affect the run, he gets after everybody, and I would assume they would have put him or McGovern out there, being as though I think he's the weakest out of the offensive linemen out there. So it's another blessing that we don't have to go against that guy, because he is a game wrecker.
You know what? Robert Woods is a guy that I think he's active.
He's playing.
And you're going to have to keep an eye on him. He does punt return. He's a good wide receiver. I don't know how they're going to get him the ball, but that's the guy you have to look for.
He may be getting the ball from 2 different quarterbacks. Malik Willis, who was anticipated to be the starter, will instead come off of the bench for Tennessee. Instead, it's Joshua Dobbs, who was drafted 4th round back in 2017. We'll talk a little bit more about what he can bring to the table in a couple moments. 18 total Titans are on the IR list at the moment. But when they're healthy, this defense can stop the run. They're one of the best teams in the NFL in terms of rushing yards allowed per game, second. However, when you open up the pass, it certainly comes to the table. Nearly 380 yards allowed per game, bottom 2 in the NFL. So how does Dak Prescott in this passing game open things up after the performance he had last week against Philadelphia?
I think it all relies on that play action. You know, if this offense can continue to be balanced, I think that's when you get your best Dak Prescott, because I believe he's one of the best play action quarterbacks in the National Football League. So I think you got to go ahead, pound that ground game, allow everything to open up in the back end, and then that's when you can have a guy like Dak Prescott exploit that secondary back there. That's one of the worst in the National Football League.
I'll tell you what, when I looked at him last week, man, that's that big boo-boo at the beginning. Then all of a sudden, he just settled down.
Yeah.
He went to that Dak that was 3 years ago that got instinctively. He rushed for 41 yards. Where's the last time we seen Dak just open and run the ball for first downs? I think he's getting his old rhythm back. I think he's, with the emergence of C.D. Lamb and the adding of T.Y. Hilton, this guy can see the whole field. He's getting people out of the box. They just can't sit in there on him and try to blitz him. I think he's coming along real well.
Which unit helps Dak Prescott out more if he wants to continue some of this momentum into the playoffs? Is it the offensive line up front, or is it the wide receivers he's throwing the football to?
Man, offensive line like insurance, baby. Yes, sir. If they ain't paying up, boy, he's getting hurt. So they got to do their job, and things got to happen real well. I mean, I'm not going to go into the offensive line right now. That's later on. But they have to be the biggest contributors to Dak being successful.
Yeah, I got to agree with you right there, Nate. I feel like this offensive line has got to be able to keep this guy upright and have him go with the ability to make big plays out there. They have been leaky so far this season. I think they're giving up 9 sacks in the past 2 games, so they got to shore that up a little bit. But if they can keep this guy upright, the sky's the limit for Dak Prescott.
The sky is the limit. Dak Prescott, in his only game against the Tennessee Titans, he's 0-1 against the Titans back in 2018. But no matter what Tennessee does, he says everything's still about focusing on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's not necessarily in our hands to control. So for me, it's about worrying about this week right now, what's at hand. Tennessee Titans here in a couple of days, making sure that we go out there and we control what we can, and that's winning this game and being prepared and making sure that we're just continuing to build off of last game, really, and just make sure, as I said before, get this momentum going in the right way, in the right direction, all the confidence that you can get from each and every win, and move forward on that. And if something happens over on that other side that allows us to, hell yeah, that'd be great.
Is it hard to keep your intensity when they're coming to this game with really nothing to play for, and knowing that they just got to win the season finale, and they may not even play some of their starters?
No, not at all. Yeah, I honestly don't ever really care what they're doing on the other side. As I just said, it's about us just building momentum, grabbing confidence with each game that we do, and just moving forward, as I said, as we play these last 2 out and head over into the postseason. Yeah, if they want to roll us the ball a couple of times and let us go from there, I'm all for that. So we'll take it however they want to do it.
There was a stat from Saturday's game where you were 24 for 24 against zone coverage. What comes to your mind when you hear that stat?
just numbers, honestly. Just goes into my preparation, seeing everything seeing it pre-snap, seeing it post-snap, delivering balls, guys obviously in zone, just being in the right spot, right timing. I think it's a credit to that, just where we can be when we're all locked in and on the same page.
Well, 2 weeks ago, zone was giving you trouble, and that was going to be a blueprint.
Y'all said that, not me.
So still a lot of confidence for Dak Prescott after that performance against Philadelphia last week. He'll look to carry that into the penultimate week of the regular season and, of course, into the playoffs. Let's go back out to Nissan Stadium, where Dak Prescott has never played before, and welcome in the fifth member of our crew, Nick Eatman. Nick, first off, it's your first trip out to Nissan Stadium in quite some time. What does the atmosphere feel like? Because for Tennessee, this game matters very little, but for Dallas, still everything very much so on the line.
Well, I think it feels like a game where, the Cowboy fans are definitely out and in full force. And it also feels like a game where, the Cowboys, like you said, haven't been here in 8 years. Anytime you get a situation like that where it's been a long time since the Cowboys or really any team that shows up at a stadium, you're going to get a lot of fans like this. So, it's a game. Whatever was going on with Tennessee, I don't think the Cowboys are really worried about that. You look at just their inactives. I mean, Pollard is banged up and not playing, but I think the Cowboys are going out. They've got to win. They're trying to win the NFC East. They can't worry about anything else. And so, that's why I think at the end of the day, end of the night, this game is going to be pretty ugly just because when you got a good football team that's trying to win against an average team that doesn't care to win, that smells like a 30-point blowout.
Yeah, it really does sound like good news at the moment for Cowboys Nation. What would also count as good news would be the pass rush getting back on track. Just 1 sack through the last 3 weeks. How do you anticipate them rotating guys? Of course, there's been some injuries on the defensive side of the football to allow that pass rush to get back to a prominent ranking.
I think that they'll have, a full stable of pass rushers in this game. And I understand that Sam Williams isn't like the main rusher, but what he does is he brings the depth. And so when he wasn't there last week, and there's been some other injuries before, but when they're all there, they're all playing together, then I think it does give a healthy rotation. When Micah does come out, then you've got other guys, the Dorrance or Fowler or Sam Williams that can come in and rush the passer, and they don't lose as much. And so I just think having a from 1 to 8 when it comes to rushers, when they're all pretty good or really good, then I think you have a much better attack on the quarterback.
Then flipping to the other side of the football, on offense, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have been connecting as of late. 2 straight 100-yard games in 4 of CeeDee's last 7 appearances. What has impressed you the most about their connection and the way that really that's grown throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, more than just the connection to me is CeeDee. There's the maturity, the growth, and the mental fortitude of saying, everybody in the world is talking about a receiver that's not here, that's not probably going to be here. And if he is, what does he mean? I don't know. But all he did in that time of the OBJ talk was have his career best season, best stretch of games, and makes the Pro Bowl on his own. Didn't need to be an alternate or anything like that. He has taken his game to the next level. And obviously, Dak coming back, I think, has helped with that, their connection. More than anything, I think the fact that CeeDee Lamb is really the first receiver, the number 1 receiver that we've seen in a while, and Amari Cooper was there as well. But not talking about Dez, not talking about other guys. CeeDee can play all over the field. He's a slot guy. He's an outside guy, and the best receivers in the game. And I have a feeling that Dak Prescott has run onto the field here based off the cheers. But the best receivers in the game are the ones that can line up anywhere.
They're cheering for you, Nick. That's what that is out of Nissan Stadium. They're hearing your great insight. They're giving you a nice little roar. I like it. Nick Eatman joining us here on Cowboys Pregame Live as he does every single week. We'll check back in with Nick later in the show. Here's a stat for you. CeeDee Lamb needs just 9 receptions to hit 100 on the season. No Cowboys wide receiver, Jason Witten did it throughout his career, has hit 100 receptions since Michael Irvin did it back in 1995. So CeeDee Lamb sitting at 91. That just so happens to be the career high number for T.Y. Hilton as the 4-time Pro Bowler, starting to find a role here with the Dallas Cowboys, both on and off the field. Haley Sutton has more.
When T.Y. Hilton signed with the Cowboys a few weeks ago, he told reporters point blank what he brings to the table: speed and ability. And on Sunday, when he made his debut, he reminded everybody why his nickname was the ghost.
Snap back on 3rd and forever. Prescott steps up and heaves it.
Now you see him.
Hilton down the left sideline.
Now you don't.
Oh my gosh, he caught it at the 23-yard line. Holy cow. T.Y. Hilton. Wow.
While T.Y. Hilton only saw action in 12 snaps against Philadelphia, he made the most of every minute.
It was very exciting. I mean, just to be out there again, it felt good. And then 3rd and 30, we needed to play. So, I was able to make that play. O-line was blocking good. Dak dropped the ball on the money. What I didn't know was that I got hit early. That's what I didn't know until I went back and watched it. So just making a play that the team needed, and I was able to spark us.
With 11 years of NFL experience, all of that mileage was spent in the AFC South. And with the Cowboys facing a Titans team still searching for a spot in the playoffs, Hilton's experience against the opponent will be helpful during a short week.
They're a little banged up, but most definitely like the grand scheme of things, or how their defense is, showing themselves, or really just kind of be tricky. So just understanding that he's already he's seen it, so he knows what to expect.
Are they going to come out swinging? I mean, that's just what they're going to do, and they're at home, and they just lost first place of the South, so they're going to hit us with everything that they have, because they have to protect home and they have to get a win. So for us, we just got to go out there and play Cowboy football, and it'll be fun.
But it's not just helping the team understand the opponent. Hilton has spent much of his time on the sidelines sharing his knowledge with the next generation.
Things that Reggie taught me when I was in CD shoes, and then I got a chance to spend some of my knowledge on him and just helping him with his route running, getting open, the little bit of separation just to help him make it from a contested catch to not contested, and and building up his yak. He did the adjustment, and he was able to score, getting more separation from the safety, and he was able to spin and, do what CD does.
Just for me to get inside his head and vice versa, and kind of help him, feel his way into this offense, because as we know, if he's in his offense can go, any kind of way. At any moment, he can come to me and vice versa, and I have no problem going to him.
T.Y. Hilton has scored 6 touchdowns and recorded a whopping 1,078 yards on 71 catches against the Titans in his career. But guys, as we saw on Sunday, all it takes is one for him to make an impact in the game.
1 reception, 52 yards. It's the longest catch for T.Y. Hilton since 2018, so Haley's spot on with that one. Back here with Barry Church and Nate Newton, and if you might notice right here in the middle, we've got a brand new look for the Dallas Cowboys today. It's the Arctic Cowboys look. They'll be wearing these all-white helmets. It's basically the same look as the old helmet, but with a white face mask and a white body. Brand new, never been worn before. They're going to wear it on Thursday Night Football tonight. You were just saying in the middle of the break there that you wish you would have had a chance.
I wish I could have put this helmet on. I mean, the white face mask, you got the blue accents right here. I mean, it's super impressive, man. I just wish I was able to wear it during my time with the Cowboys.
Did you like it?
2 teams. I would just like to have some green scarred across that and some maroon scarred.
I see what you're saying.
Oh, boy, yes, if I can get some of that New York blue scar across that, man, I want to punish somebody when I see that.
The war wounds, huh? You got
but I probably would get a penalty for
nowadays, yeah.
for head-butting folks.
It's a little bit different this time around. More helmets, more penalty markers as well than when Nate Newton played back in the day. T.Y. Hilton will be wearing this helmet tonight, and he is active again for the second time as a Dallas Cowboy. Has he been really the missing piece for this offense? Because it certainly looked like during a couple of opportunities, an offensive holding penalty called and drawn against Philadelphia last week, and then the 52-yard bomb.
Look, I think the jury is still out as far as if he's the missing piece or not. Like, I understand what he did. He had that 3rd and 30 conversion, which is an amazing play. Like, nobody's taking anything away from him when it comes to that. That was an amazing play right there. But I'm going to need to see a little bit bigger sample size before I'm saying he's the missing piece for this offense moving forward. Like, if he can come in here, if you're going to tell me he can make 1 or 2 plays consistently like that throughout the rest of his time here, then of course I think he's the missing piece. But like I said, I need a little bit bigger sample size before I anoint him the Cowboy savior.
I love that. when you went to cover 2, I think Barry they was in, and the safety couldn't get back because they misjudged the old man. He still got some afterburners, man. And if he can add that element, just think for the first 14, 15, 16 games, we had a medium to short game. If he can add that element of speed, of getting down the field, now we got a long game. Now we force teams to defend the whole field. Before, you could get your 2 corners and bring them up and, defend the run. But with this guy, you're going to have to defend him. And that takes away first down. You don't know how to play us now.
Yeah, part of T.Y.'s value isn't exactly what he does on the field, which certainly has value as you just outlined, but it's also what he brings off the field. So I wanted to bring this question to you guys. When you were in your playing days, especially the early ones, was there a veteran that you pulled to the most? Was there somebody that you relied on for that information? Because it seems like this wide receiving core is certainly doing that with T.Y. Hilton.
With me being a young safety here, there was a guy by the name of Gerald Sensenbaugh, and he was like a big brother to me at the time. I mean, he taught me all the ropes, how to read tight ends when you're going man-to-man, how to disguise coverages, how to read quarterbacks back there, and he really elevated my game because I really wasn't the fastest or the strongest guy coming out there. Just check those combine numbers. They're pretty bad. But he taught me how to play the game cerebral out there and was able to go out there and make the most of the talents that I had. So I give a lot of my career due to Gerald Sensenbaugh and his ability to teach me the game in a multitude of ways.
It was 2 guys for me. Tom Rafferty was always about taking care of business and helping me out. Mark Stepnoski, because the first few years, man, I was like this kid here, but I was leaving a little bit slower. If you get my leader coming from Florida A&M, and Mark Stepnoski, who was a young guy, showing me the right way to do things. And then the master was Charles Haley. He helped me with my feet, helped me with my weight. So it was several guys for me, man, and I appreciate all y'all.
And you guys both coming from smaller schools, Toledo, and then also from Florida A&M. I'm sure those conversations helped you out. CeeDee Lamb didn't come from a small school. I mean, came from Oklahoma. He was a first-round draft pick. But since T.Y. joined the team, CeeDee Lamb, 17 receptions, 246 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying it's completely direct, but where has been CeeDee Lamb's biggest change from the beginning of the season now into Week 17?
I mean, he's growing right before our eyes. I mean, I remember earlier in the season, I was extremely hard on him. I was out there talking about his body language wasn't right, and I don't know if he's ready for this #1 role. Boy, did he prove me wrong, all right? Because this guy, like I say, he's growing right up before our eyes, and he's making play after play, and it's consistent. He had, 10 catches for 126 yards last week? I mean, the guy seems unstoppable, and I love how Kellen Moore is using him. He's not just keeping him on the outside. They're putting him in the slot. They're putting him in bunches so corners don't have a chance to get their hands on him. And when this guy has the ball in his hands, he's one of the best at getting yards after the catch. That's what I think makes him, one of those upper echelon wide receivers out there because he could do so much with the ball in his hands.
I agree with you. You said it all. But when I saw him in the slot last week, running those routes, hurting people, man, and he's still got those yak yards that he always comes up with. At the beginning of the year, I beg people, be patient with this kid. Some guys are not born with that #1 stamp on their head. They have to grow into it. This guy is continuing to grow. And with T.Y. Hilton helping him, and T.Y. talked about it last week in the postgame where he gave him a certain little thing on this route as far as a corner route, taking it up a little bit higher. He did that. He came back and he thanked the old vet for it. So that's showing me that he's not only getting it physically, he's getting it mental, and now he's becoming a complete teammate by being humble and accepting information.
And you can almost see the confidence growing week in and week out for CeeDee Lamb. Here's what he said earlier in the week when talking to the media about growing into that role and focusing on what he can control.
It's actually very easy to stay on task. Just understanding we still have another opportunity. We have to go prove ourselves. I feel like we still haven't. Granted, we've done some good things this season, but I mean, it's time to start turning it up a notch.
One of the criticisms of this offense in recent years was didn't get the ball to the #1 receiver like a lot of other teams have. Seems like there is an intent now every week to get you the ball and get you involved in a big way. Could you describe that philosophy? Is it the coaches calling plays? Is it Dak's confidence in you? What is it?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I feel like we built, a lot of confidence in each other within the last couple of years playing together, and I feel like I have the utmost confidence in myself regardless, no matter who it is guarding me. So personally, I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready for the ball. I'm never running away from it, so just whenever my number's called, I'm going to step up to the occasion.
How much of it is you growing into that #1 role? You talked about that this year, how there was some kind of growth into that. How much of it, 400-yard games out of 7, How much is that part of that growth?
It's been very important, and I've seen a lot of things as far as, mentally wise, just throughout a game, just understanding that if I'm going to want to play, to happen, I'm going to have to make that play. It's not really relying on anyone nor just, understanding I know my guys are going to make the play, given the opportunity. But when it comes to my opportunity, I have to step up. So.
CeeDee Lamb already at 1,000 receiving yards on the season. He'll look to try and increase that total today against the Tennessee Titans. The Dallas Cowboys facing off against each other for the first time since 2018. Let's take a look at the guys that will not be facing off against each other. The inactive list for the Dallas Cowboys. And right there at the top of the list is going to be one of the best names that have been on the inactive list all season, and that is Tony Pollard, out with a thigh injury. A couple other names on the list: Leighton Vander Esch, James Washington, guys that we've seen on the inactive list recently because of nagging injuries there, and then some of the normal casting characters that have found a home on that list this year. Will Greer is the third quarterback, Jalen Tolbert, Marquise Bell, and then most recently Trayvon Mullen. But let's talk about Tony Pollard and his absence today. Not a long-term worry, says Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, just maybe more of a precaution. But how does this change this offensive attack?
I think it just gives, Zeke a little bit more opportunity to eat out there. I mean, this guy, he's been doing a great job as being the ultimate teammate, kind of sharing the light over there with Tony Pollard. And I think this will give him an opportunity to go out there and feast on the Tennessee Titans defense that's, resting a lot of players out there. So to me, feed Zeke, get this game done with, and hopefully they can use that play action pass and get Dak involved as well.
And after you feed Zeke, give Malik Davis a little taste of something, man.
There you go.
What I'm saying? The thing about this game here is I know Zeke can tote the rock, and I think Coach McCarthy has done a great job in preserving Zeke for this home stretch. So now he's needed. He'll be ready. He can a great third down blocking out, but we can also give Malik something. I mean, he runs the ball. When the few times he's touched that rock, he's tried to run the air out of it. So we'll give him a few chances too.
Yeah, he's been electrifying all the way back into training camp in Oxnard. Yes. He was turning some heads. But Ezekiel Elliott needs 171 yards. Pollard only needs 12 yards to both reach 1,000. I'm not saying this plays into the decision at all, because this coaching staff could care less about the 1,000 yards. However, this might be your best chance to see both hit that mark. Do you think Zeke has a good chance to maybe run quite a bit today and chip away at that 171 number?
I think he does. I think he has an opportunity. I mean, 171, it's not unfeasible for a guy like Ezekiel Elliott.
In 2 games.
In 2 games. That is true. It is in 2 games. But like you said, he'll have, the bell cow back this game with no Tony Pollard out there. He should get the majority of the reps out there, and hopefully he's able to rip off maybe a 100-yard, performance out there to kind of chip away at that. But that would be an amazing feat to have both of your running backs go for 1,000 yards. I don't think I've ever seen it this far or been a part of a team that has 2,000-yard rushers out there. So that's an amazing feat, and hats off to both of those guys.
You know what? Give Zeke 20 touches, 21 touches, and get the rest to Davis. Bruh,
you don't want to see
it's a bigger thing down the road that we're trying to accomplish here. So you continue to let the tenderizer keep him at a low number count like you've been doing. And if he can break off a 70-yarder, bring back the old Zeke and break off a 70-yarder, that would be nice. But no, that's a lot of yards and a lot of banging.
Okay. Ooh, okay. I'm just going to rip up this stat that I had about Zeke being a 1,000-yard rusher. Nate just put that to bed. Let's go win some games, which I think Cowboys Nation would be very happy with. But let's talk about the guys blocking in front of these of these running backs. The offensive line over the last couple weeks has been suspect. There's been a lot of movement, and that movement has not been kind, Nate, to this offensive front. Have you been happy with the way they've improved over the last 2 weeks?
I didn't like 2 weeks ago, when they rotated the offensive line, but I don't think that's fair to your offensive line and to your quarterbacks and running backs, because you can't build any continuity. But now last week they gave up 6 sacks, and I've been dreading this day, fellas, because I asked the question, what happens when you play a defensive line that has 4 horsemen like Philadelphia? And it showed up. Several hits, and I made Dak get on his horse and rush for 41 yards into a great victory against a good defense. But now going into this 3rd week where we got the same guys playing, that number should drop significantly. And what more important, the pressure's on our quarterback to drop significantly. Is that the word?
You got it. Yeah, that's all.
I don't have a Harvard education, but but I tell you, like this right here. I like the fact that they're playing the same 5 guys, and I hope that they continue to do that because we can have success doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Nate. When you talk about, not rotating the offensive linemen out there, I like my offensive line to be like a unit out there, kind of work together and know each other's strengths and weaknesses. But I'm not going to lie, this offensive line, it kind of scares me a little bit, especially giving up 6 sacks to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I understand, that defensive line is one of the best in the National Football League. I think they lead the league in sacks total, so that's going to come with it. But you're not going to play against, a rested Tennessee Titans team in the playoffs. You're going to be playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, a San Francisco who has Nick Bosa out there. So, to me, I need this offensive line to get that continuity together, stop the leakage as much, and we'll see what goes forward. But as long as they stay healthy, I think they can get better as the season progresses.
Nate, how would you grade Tyron Smith at right tackle? This will be game number 3. He is expected to play and play a significant amount of snaps again. How would you grade the way that he's played through his first 2 games at right tackle since he was a rookie?
I give him a B.
Okay.
A B, maybe a B- because he's a veteran guy. He hasn't played it since his rookie year, 2005 or something like that. And he's kind of.
He's not that old. I promise. He's not 2005.
2011.
2011. Tyron's not that old.
I'm sorry, I got it mixed up with my kid. But anyway. He's just getting his steps down. He's just trying to build a rhythm. He's playing with one of the greatest guards that played in Cowboys history, in Zach Martin. Once he get his steps down, once he realized that he's not on the back side of these things going to the right, he's on the front side, so he's got to go with that right flow. He'll be okay. Hassan last week was a beast. That kid was a beast. So it ain't good to go against some guys, but it's good so you can get the reps against the best.
Yeah, it looks like footwork is starting to get better. The strength is there. He's Tyron Smith. I mean, the strength will always be great. It's the footwork. It's the continuity, the word that we continue to say up here about that offensive line that's going to continue to play a role. But now we go from an offensive tackle from the West Coast to a defensive tackle that played on the West Coast as well. Osa Odighizuwa is starting to build a bit of a role on the interior of that defensive line. Haley Sutton has more on what Osa has brought to the table.
Well, it's hard to believe Osa Odighizuwa is only in his 2nd professional career here in the National Football League. And I had the opportunity to sit down with him earlier this week to talk football, a little bit of family, and what has made him so successful this season. And believe it or not, Osa didn't start playing football until later on in his career. In fact, it's his roots in wrestling that have made him so successful on the football field. Before you were really into football, you were a wrestler.
Yep.
And you were a good wrestler, right? 2-time state champion? Is that
3.
correct? 3. Oh, mine.
No,
my
you're good.
What was wrestling like? And just, how did that help you? How does that translate over into the football realm?
I feel like mental toughness is probably the biggest one, just because wrestling. And the reason why I was good, like my wrestling partner, especially like my junior and senior year, was like a 30-year-old man. That was my wrestling coach. And the first day that I had to practice with him, is because I was a freshman and the guy that I wrestled with every day, my wrestling partner, he didn't come to practice that day. And I had to practice with Coach Collette. And by the end of practice, when you're about to cry and you're kind of breathing heavily, just you're shuddering almost. I was trying to hold back tears by the time practice was over because I had never practiced that hard.
Given everything you have gone through, college, growing up, and now here with the Cowboys, if you could tell baby Osa anything about life, about your journey through this sport, what do you think you would tell him? I know that was a deep one. I put you on the spot.
Just knowing what I know now, probably just been a lot more disciplined. Don't procrastinate. Just build good habits. If I could go back in time and transfer my mind into my body, I would not waste any time at all. You know what I mean? Just knowing how crucial every second that you have and just every moment that you have now is, I wouldn't allow myself to procrastinate in anything.
Now, you can catch that full interview dropping on Saturday on social media, so be sure to check it out. Something else Osa told me in that sit-down, though, guys, is that he gets a lot of his inspiration from watching anime. He says he loves the storyline. He loves how the characters always have to fight to the finish and stay persevering in order to be successful. So I found that to be a little bit interesting. But we'll see what Osa can get done against the Titans coming up tonight.
So I'm racking my brain, Haley. I don't have an anime reference. I really don't. I could say maybe over 9,000 or something like that, right? I mean, is that an anime reference? It's Dragon Ball Z or something, right?
Oh, 9,000 power level. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what his rating is on Madden. Osa. Maybe on the mat.
Okay. Matt, he got it on the mat.
It's a stretch. Osa and that defensive front are going to be going after a different quarterback this time around than they originally anticipated. Malik Willis was anticipated to be the starter heading into the week. Instead, it's Josh Dobbs that will be behind center. He's only been with the Tennessee Titans for 8 days. How does that change things as a defender? Because they both have the ability to run, but Malik Willis, a rookie, Josh Dobbs has been in the league since 2017. Does that change a lot for the Dan Quinn-led unit?
I used to hate going against quarterbacks that kind of just got thrown into the fire because there's not a lot of tape on those guys. So in me being the guy that I am, I loved having a tape on guys, knowing the strengths, knowing the weaknesses, where they love to go with on third down. But having a guy just show up and being out there on the game, I mean, it's kind of difficult from a defensive standpoint. But what they may be looking at to do is kind of what Houston did last week. You know, or not last week, a couple weeks ago, where they had Driscoll and then they had Davis Mills kind of doing that 2-quarterback system, and they had a lot of success against this Dallas defense. So maybe Tennessee is trying to take a page out of Houston's book.
You know what? Josh Dobbs has been on a pro team since 17.
Yeah.
And so he's seen, he's not had much regular season work, but he's had a lot of preseason work. So he's seen a little bit of the coverages back there. So they feel a little bit more confident with him. I'm telling you, looking at the film of this Willis kid, he is lost. He is totally lost. And so when you got a guy like that, you don't want to just throw him to the wolves. So they throwing Josh Dobbs to the wolves. And, man, he's not going to fare much better because both of these guys come from running programs. They threw well back at Tennessee for Josh Dobbs and Liberty for Willis, but this is not back there in those days. They're going to have to speed up their process if they're going to have some success.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It really is, having Dobbs thrown into the fold. Now, he was taken in the exact same draft position as Dak Prescott, 4th round, number 135 overall, just a year after Dak Prescott did it. It's the first starting quarterback matchup between two guys taken in the same draft position since in the 4th round or later since 2019 when Tom Brady and Luke Falk went at it in the Jets and the Patriots. Luke Falk, who was the 6th round pick, 199, much like Tom Brady. It's only the second time it's ever happened in the 2nd round or later in the common draft era, which dates back to 1967. That's a very complex stat. You can go on Twitter and find it if you really want to. But let's look at the weapons that they're going to throw the football to, because Robert Woods, still a veteran wide receiver, still active. Who do you have your eye on the outside for this Dallas secondary, who has had their struggles to try and lock down?
Well, for me, I'm going to go with Robert Woods on this one. You know, I understand what, Burks brings to the table as a rookie. He's explosive, physical specimen, all that. But Robert Woods, he's been around the block a couple times, and he's seen pretty much every NFL defense there is to offer. So his understanding of, zone concepts and man concepts, he can be kind of that security blanket, kind of that guy that, if all things break down, Robert Woods, let me go ahead and try to find this guy. So to me, if you're, Malik Willis, if you're Josh Dobbs, anybody out there, you're going to want to try to get the ball out of your hands as soon as possible, and I believe Robert Woods can help you with that.
I'm about to back that up. I mean, he's not only a punt returner, he's their number one receiver in my eyesight because he can do all the things. He understands about sitting down in the zone and giving the quarterback something to see. He can tell the quarterback, hey, look here, I'm going into this second window, this is where I'll be, because these guys are going to literally have to be told what to do, and they got to go to a reliable guy. Burks is young, he's strong, he's big, but he doesn't understand the nuances of this game yet. So Woods is totally the guy out front.
Yeah, Woods out of USC, of course, the rookie Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, who has kind of struggled here in his rookie season. But there's been a rookie in that secondary that has not struggled for the Dallas Cowboys. Deron Bland, now tied for 3rd in the NFL. He has 5 interceptions this year. One more would have him tied for the lead. What has made him so successful in the secondary, and a secondary that has kind of had some moving pieces all the way throughout?
Look, what DaRon Bland is doing as a rookie is outstanding. And I think he truly needs to be in the discussion for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Wow. I mean, he's been that good out there. Not only is he a ball guy with his 5 interceptions out there, but he's doing it at one of the hardest positions on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm talking about nickelback. This guy checks all the boxes. The football IQ, he has, he's physical, he can cover, and most of all, he's coachable. Because last week we saw that to go from inside corner to outside corner in the game, you have to be extremely coachable out there. What this guy is doing as a rookie is unbelievable, and I think the Cowboys found a young stud in DaRon Bland.
And you know, you miss one, he can tackle.
This is true.
When you look at today's NFL, you look at receivers, you know, you're gonna have yardage made. It's the yak yards that hurts DBs when they don't tackle well and guys break a 5-yard out into maybe 20 or 30-yard run. So this guy tackles well, and like you said, Barry, moving from outside to inside and playing that inside as well as he have. We debated last week where he should be. Well, he proved both of us right because he played inside and outside, and he man enough to take a contested ball out the air.
So hopefully for DaRon Bland, that secondary sees a bit of an uptick over these final 2 weeks of the regular season, because despite the plays that have been made, there have been plays allowed as well. But you also want the secondary to just cover and allow for this pass rush to get home. Has this been an undersung part of the struggles for the pass rush? Just the 1 sack over the last 3 games. Is the secondary a big piece of that?
Well, rush and cover, they work together. We all understand that. You know, the D-line, there'll be some instances where they get after the quarterback extremely fast and he has to throw the ball quick, and one of the guys in the secondary, you know, gets to be able to get a tips and overthrow. And it works the opposite way as well. If you cover long enough, you give that defensive line an opportunity to get back to the quarterback. But to me, this D-line, it has to get that swagger back. It has to get that confidence back. When they were rolling and they were the strength of this defense, they were throwing waves upon waves of pass rushers at opposing quarterbacks, and it was causing all type of mayhem in the backfield. They got to get back to that, especially with the injuries that we have in the secondary. You got to help them out and get back to the quarterback. This D-line, it's got to get going in the right direction, and I believe it starts tonight.
I tell you what, when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, it's a hard time. We need for our corners to come up and bump and give us that extra time as a passer. But when it's long yardage, when it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, 2nd and 15, that now we get a chance, because we like to run games up front.
Oh, yeah.
Our 4-man and 5-man, we like to run games, and that is what teams have been doing, keep staying even with the chains and keeping it in short yardage on 3rd and 2nd down. So now them games don't work. You have to come solo rushing the passer. What we need for our corners to do in those situations, make sure you get good hands on them, make sure you reroute them, you give these guys an extra split second to get there.
Those are the type of questions that defensive coordinator Dan Quinn is going to have to answer. There's a look at Dan live on the sideline at Nissan Stadium. Much of those pass rushers back behind him. That 1 sack in the last 3 games for this Dallas defense belongs to Micah Parsons. Here's what Mike had to say earlier in the week, saying that, sure, sacks aren't everything, but it certainly does help whenever you're trying to make an impact.
Yeah, I'm liking what I'm saying. I mean, the ball's coming out much quicker. I mean, there's a I put it like this: it's not as easy as, you know, everyone or I may look or other guys may look or make it seem. You know, I promise you, sacking the quarterback's not that easy, especially when they're game planning against it and they don't want you to get going. So you might see a lot more play action, boot. I mean, a lot more attempts, and then what timing of the ball's coming out. It's not a lot of drop back or deep developing routes. Everything might be quick, short, and immediate. I could win in 2 seconds, still might not be fast enough. People forget we're playing against the league's best. We're not playing against midget football players where we can just throw them out the way and sack the quarterback so fast. But, you know, if anybody wants to take my job and step in my shoes, you're more than welcome. I'll hand it over and see how you do.
When other teams are playing you that way, can you still be the lion, or do you have to be a different animal?
You got to be the one that lead the pride. Sometimes not all about the killing. It's about how can you find a way to still impact the game. How can you find a way to make sure everyone's good and still, you know, keep going and making sure everything's still effective.
So from Micah to Micah, there he is getting ready. You can see on his left hand, he's actually going to be playing with a club tonight. There was a bit of concern on whether or not he would be available, but Micah Parsons will be playing in his first career game against the Tennessee Titans. Of course, as a rookie, Micah Parsons made quite the impact for the Dallas Cowboys. There's another rookie that is trying to get some impact. He's been dealing with injury, and that's undrafted free agent rookie Alec Lindstrom, who is trying to find motivation to get back on the field, but sometimes the best motivation comes off the field. Here's Haley Sutton with more.
It has always been Alec Lindstrom's dream to play in the NFL. And while he didn't get drafted, he is still a part of the Dallas Cowboys roster fulfilling that dream. He's following in the footsteps of his big brother, Chris, who plays for the Falcons. And at the center of their whole family is their mama, Mama Dawn. I had a chance to sit down with Alec Lindstrom and talk about why she is so important to their family.
She was everything to us. I remember my brother was playing basketball, the whole stadium was quiet, and she got up and started yelling for him. She always had this cowbell ringing. It came to every single game of mine, my brothers, my sisters, and she always put us before herself, and that was what it was all about. She was just the life of a room, you know, always energetic, always in a good mood, always going, whether it was cooking for all of us. You know, I have 5 siblings. Going to the grocery store was like a 2-hour event because she had to talk to everybody, and she's like, "Oh, you remember Joe from when you met him when you were like 3 years old?" I'm like, "No, Mom, I don't." And she always made everybody feel so special and took the time out of her day to make sure everybody was doing good, feeling good, and made them feel important. I remember it was my first training camp as starting, so my redshirt sophomore year. I got a call, and my dad just kind of explained the situation to me, but at the time I didn't really know the whole situation because she didn't want us to know. And it really didn't hit me until last year when you could really see everything and the toll it was taking on her. She battled ovarian cancer for 2.5 years, and she sadly passed away. But even then, all she wanted to do was make sure that we were okay. And we had the opportunity to take care of her with COVID. We were with her, always around her, which I'm so thankful for. But even then, all she wanted to do was put us first and caring about us and asking how we were doing, asking about, "Oh, I can't make it to your game, I'm so sorry." And it's like, "No, Mom, it's okay." Like, all she cared about was us and taking care of us. We want to get an organization done, the Mama Dawn Foundation. As my mom always made us and everybody feel good and beautiful, we want to make sure everybody else feels like that too. So as we get it going and set up, we just want to make sure that everyone feels beautiful. So we had just plans of like a beauty day for where women battling cancer can come in and get done up, take pictures and feel beautiful inside and out, because it's such an ugly disease that takes so much out of you and out of your family. It's just something that we want to set up in the near future where you can come in and have fun, feel beautiful, and feel like yourself. I always think she's with me, and the greatest thing now is I know she's with all of us all the time. No matter what we're dealing with, you can always just be in the moment and just kind of look and be like, "Oh, I know she's with me. I know she's happy. I know she's cheering us on. I know she's pushing us when something's not going right." So it's sad, but it's also a really good feeling knowing that we're so supportive of each other, just like she wanted, and she's always with us.
If you could tell your mama anything right now, what would you tell her?
I just say I love you. I hope I'm making you proud, and I'm hoping I'm becoming the man that you always taught me to be.
Now, we obviously know Mama Dawn is so very proud of Alec Lindstrom and his other siblings as well. I had the opportunity to meet with Alec earlier in the summer with a camp that I did through Laura Oakman, and he shared that story with me, and it just is moving. I'm trying to hold back tears. My mom is also, we connected because my mom is also a little bit sick, so just an incredible story. I love him. He's got such a special place in my heart, so thank you so much, Alec, for sharing that story with me.
It's hard to find more motivation than that. I mean, really, it's one of those stories that transcends sports, and it's hard to even talk about a football game after hearing that, and prayers, of course, to you and your family in dealing with something very similar, and to all those out there that are dealing with something like that, because cancer's the worst. I mean, that's one thing that we can all agree on, no matter who you cheer for on a Thursday night or a Saturday morning or a Sunday night, you can always agree on that one. But a great story. Great job, Haley Sutton. Haley Sutton, Barry Church, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Let's get back to football a little bit, and we'll transition with more rookie impact up front. We talked about it all year long. Tyler Smith on the offensive line, but also Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot blocking up front for the Dallas Cowboys. These three tight ends have played quite a few snaps throughout, and whether they're making an impact as a pass catcher, they're also making an impact as a blocker. So, Barry, as you look at these three guys rotating in and out, how much can the Dallas Cowboys rely on them heading into the playoffs?
I think you can rely on it. I think all three of these guys have proven to be, reliable targets out there, and they're multi-tool players out there. They're just not, receivers out there as well. They can block well. I think Ferguson's the best blocker out of all of them, but they all carry different type of traits that you can use as an offense out there, and Dak Prescott can use, especially in that play action game. You go out there in 12 personnel, you use those two tight ends vertically down the field or mismatch them on linebackers. I feel like they can have a huge impact, especially when the playoffs come right around the corner.
Tony, man, when you get that 1,000 yards, man, run up to Jake Ferguson, man. Because before Jake Ferguson got here, we could not set an edge. This kid is scrappy. He's out of Wisconsin. I don't know which round they picked him. I think it was the 4th. He's done a super job. Son, keep working, because you can be a big part in making this run through the playoffs.
I really just like how each one of these guys brings a different facet to the tight end game. I think they're really elevating what a tight end means to your offense, and you're seeing that with all three of those guys. And you even have to factor in Sean McEwen as well. He brings a different level as well. They call themselves the Four Horsemen for a reason, and so I think that this group of guys is really special. I think it's going to bode well for the offense in the future as well as in the playoffs.
Nate, have you ever seen it to where a team can utilize 4 tight ends on a week-to-week basis? I mean, hearing 3 guys make an impact is already rare enough, but 4 guys that are earning a roster spot week in and week out and then playing significant snaps?
Like you're saying, each one of them do a little bit something different. But I tell you what, I think this is coming from the Parcells era when he was back with the Giants. He loved tight ends, and now we have it here, man. I can't remember the tight ends coach name, but he's done. What is his name?
Lunda Wells.
Lunda Wells. You're doing a great job, because you got 4 guys that you don't have to worry about being inactive every week, because they have a big part on this team.
Yeah, was that a shot, man? A shot to a different position across the bow there?
Yes, it was.
Well, to me, I've never seen it before happen. I've never seen 4 tight ends go out there and be productive as these guys have been throughout their time with the Dallas Cowboys. But it just goes to show you they do multiple things. They're not just offensive players as well. They're on special teams. They're helping Fossil and that crew out. And when you can do more things, you can get on the field more often.
So with rookies and with these tight ends making an impact, we're going to take the biggest transitional leap that you've ever taken, because rookies making an impact and trying to find their own as a wide receiver. What about a 49-year-old wide receiver trying to work his way back into the NFL? This was the tweet and the rumor earlier this week. Terrell Owens has been in contact with the Dallas Cowboys about rejoining the team, and shocking, nothing actually worked out. So Terrell Owens, not at the moment, working his way back into the NFL. The Hall of Famer will remain in Canton either way, but pretty crazy, the whole scenario. But it does lead to quite the interesting question, and I posed this on Twitter last night. We'll talk about the results there. But if you could place one former Cowboys player in their prime onto this 2022 Cowboys roster, who would it be in order to help for the playoff push? Barry, we'll let you go first.
Ooh, that's a tough one. But to me, I got to go prime. I got to go Deion Sanders. I mean, you're telling me you can have prime Deion Sanders on one side of the field matched up with Trayvon Diggs on the other side of the field? I mean, it's outstanding. Then you got the young rookie Bland playing in the nickel position. You talk about ball guys. I mean, all these guys can intercept the football out there. These guys are unbelievable. If you have all 3 of those guys in your secondary, you might as well blitz the rest of the team out there, because the rest of the guys are going to be locked up. Give me prime time. In his prime, without a doubt, it's over with.
What is the glaring weakness for the last 8 years of Dallas Cowboys? That is your run defense. Give me Randy White, the master.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. He can rush the passer. I promise the days in the NFL have 20 sacks and probably 18,000 yards for losses. This dude is a beast. He would change your whole team with Deion on that back end. How would you function?
It's the baby.
How would you function?
I feel like there's a lot to choose from, right? We've got a lot of different players we could pick from, but for me, the biggest issue that we've seen as of late and from the start of the season is that offensive line. So who are we going to bring in to help shore up that offensive line? None other than Mr. Nate Newton.
Yes.
The man's stats speak speak for himself, guys. He is a legend in this building, in this studio, and on that Cowboys offensive line. I'm looking at him, looking at his video going on right now, but I think you just need that veteran experience to get on there. Tyron Smith still working through the rest of things. Get Nate Newton out there. Get us to the Super Bowl in Arizona.
Do you recognize that young buck over there, Nate?
Yeah, man, that's about 70 pounds bigger than what I am now. No, that's probably about 50 pounds bigger than what I am now. Yeah, that dude there. Oh, that was a joyful Nate.
Those are some great videos. I like the one where you're right up on just taking it in. I love
Flavalanche. Call that the Flavalanche.
Nate's always number one in my heart, but Dion and Randy White were my number one and number two answers. So just for the sake of being different, give me the playmaker, Michael Irvin, at wide receiver. You talk about his physicality and what he could bring to this offense. You pair that up with the elusiveness, the speed, the agility of CeeDee Lamb on the other side or in the slot. Then you've got T.Y. Hilton over the top. I want Michael Irvin. I don't know if a ball would ever hit the ground.
You ain't
One of Dak Prescott's passes may never hit the turf again. It will definitely not end up in the hands of an enemy opponent. That ain't happening. Michael Irvin is my pick overall. But let's see what the fans picked, because I put this out just for fun last night, and we got 1,400 responses. It was nearly 1 million views on Twitter. Here's what the fans wanted. So right there at the top, Deion Sanders. He got a pretty good chunk of the pie. Larry Allen, Randy White. Larry Allen was also up there. Nate, if I could pick two, I would pick probably Nate Newton and Larry Allen.
I would pick Larry.
DeMarcus Ware getting some love. Charles Haley getting some love. Pretty good names all the way through, and then of course a mess of others on that slice of pie there as well. So that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed talking about it. With a franchise with as rich of a history as the Dallas Cowboys have, got plenty of names to choose from, and it's always a fun hypothetical. Let's go back out to Nissan Stadium though and hear from Cowboys COO Stephen Jones, who's with our very own Nick Eatman.
Thanks, Kyle, and we're joined by Stephen Jones here, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And Stephen, everyone keeps saying, this game maybe doesn't matter as much for the Titans, whatever. It definitely matters for your team, and you expect just a normal game plan like we've seen all season long?
Absolutely. We're ready to go out here and compete and go fight. I mean, we all know, 2 or 3 weeks ago we were 17-point favorites, and we had our hands full. And so this is a big game for us. We need to keep our rhythm. Our momentum, and we need to get better as a football team in terms of being consistent throughout a football game. So there's a lot of things for us to go to work on out here. It's going to be a good challenge for us, and we'll go out there business as usual, and we're playing everybody that can go. And I think unfortunately Pollard, we're probably not going to be able to have him tonight. It's just on a short week, hard for him to come back from that quad contusion. But other than that, we're ready to go.
What does it look like without Pollard? We've seen the Cowboys here. We've seen your team without Zeke, and Pollard and Malik Davis did well. Is it going to be about the same, Zeke and Malik Davis?
I think, it could be a little more for Zeke, but at the same time, we kind of like the rhythm we're in, and Malik's done a good job when been given an opportunity to carry the ball. So, we don't want to overdo Zeke. We're getting ready to head into the playoffs, and, we'd like to keep the rhythm as is. We kind of like the ratios that we're doing on the offensive side of the ball in terms of, run pass, and in terms of, how we work through that during the course of a game. So, I see Zeke having a big game, but at the same time, it's going to be fun to watch Malik get out there and get his chances.
What about on the other side of the ball? Your team's got 1 sack in the last 3 games. Still have some pressure, but not the sack numbers. Are you concerned at all by that?
No, I think a lot of that's game plan. You got to give the teams that we played credit. They're running the ball more like the Texans did, or they're getting the ball out in a hurry, which Jacksonville and the Eagles did. I mean, they're getting the ball out in a hurry. We've just got to keep being consistent with what we do, and the sacks will come. The good news is when they do get the ball out in a hurry and they're rushing it, we're making plays on the ball. We're getting our turnovers, and, that's an important part of the defense. If you win that turnover battle every game, then you're going to win most of those games.
Back to the draft. You had 4 fifth-round picks, and you had a lot of different things going on there. When you picked Deron Bland, Could you foresee him having this kind of success early on? I mean, you thought he was probably going to have to back up a little bit, but was he a ready-made player?
We wouldn't have waited to the fifth round if we knew he was going to have this kind of success. I mean, obviously we've lost 2 of our top 3 corners, with J. Lou and AB, but certainly he stepped up in a big way, and we'd have been picking him a lot sooner than the 5th round if we knew he was going to be tied for 3rd in the NFL with picks this year with 5. So he's just done a great job, stepped in. We hadn't missed a beat with him, and great to have him on our football team.
I'll ask you one more question. Your family is so big on the tradition of the Cowboys. You don't like to change a lot of things. But in games like this, when you have a new uniform, the all-white look, is it fun for everybody to kind of see your team in a different look?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think our fans enjoy it, and it's, we want to be a part of what we're doing in the league. And certainly I think our fans, the feedback we get is our fans do enjoy it. We're never going to get away, obviously, ever from doing what we do mostly, which are our traditional jerseys. Yeah. But it's great to see a fresh look out there, and hopefully our fans will enjoy it as well.
All right, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. As we wrap things up here on Cowboys Pregame Live, Haley Sutton, Barry Church, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Haley, I almost go to Barry all the time. I'm sorry, I'm not looking. Haley, keys to the game. How do the Cowboys get win number 12 and keep their hopes alive in the NFC East?
Yeah, I think this one should be pretty cut and dry. You get there, you get to business, you stick to your game plan. My biggest key to the game, though, is stay healthy. This is not a game that you want to gamble on your starters going out there getting banged up just because you're trying. I know you guys talked about that 1,000 yards earlier, but I really want you guys to stay healthy. Come back home. You got a big game next week, and then playoffs obviously looming in the future.
Yeah, for me, it's simple. Don't turn the football over. I mean, we saw what happens when you turn the football over teams that you're supposed to beat. It gives them momentum. It keeps them in the game. Dak Prescott, this offense, don't turn the football over. Defense, get the ball for your team, and we'll get this dub.
Miss Haley, this is a very important game because I always, as an offensive lineman, if the quarterback's starting, it's important. Dak, do your thing. Offensive line, no musical chairs, and y'all will be okay.
3 great keys. We'll see if the Cowboys can get the job done. First meeting with the Tennessee Titans since 2018, 7 p.m. or 7:15 p.m. kickoff on Prime Video from out at Nissan Stadium. Gentlemen, I just want it to be said, the best Texas barber or the best barbecue and the best country music, it's in Texas. It's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yes, Cowboys are going up against the Titans. Hope you enjoyed it. Cowboys Pregame Live. We'll have some postgame coverage as well from the Star in Frisco. For Haley, for Barry, and for Nate, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you next time on Cowboys Pregame Live. Enjoy the game, everybody.